The winter morning was crisp and bright, sunlight spilling through the classroom windows, casting golden streaks across the polished wooden floors. Emma Callahan, a dedicated and gentle first-grade teacher, was busy arranging desks and reviewing attendance sheets when she noticed a small boy lingering by the entrance. He was clutching a tiny backpack, his wide eyes darting nervously around the room, clearly overwhelmed by the noise and bustle of children arriving for school. Emma's heart softened instantly. She had seen anxious children before, children unsure of routines, but there was something different about this little boy. He looked lost, not just physically but emotionally. His small hands trembled slightly as he tried to hold on to his backpack straps, and his lower lip quivered as if he were on the verge of tears. "Hey there," Emma said softly, kneeling to his level. Her voice was warm and calm, the kind that had coaxed many shy children into speaking their first words of the day. "Are you okay? Do you need some help?" The boy blinked at her, swallowing hard. I can't find my mom," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma nodded gently, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "It's okay. We'll figure this out together. My name is Miss Callahan. What's yours?" "Lucas," he mumbled, his eyes filling with tears. "Hi, Lucas. I promise we'll find your mom. Right now, though, why don't you come sit with me for a moment? You can take a deep breath, and we'll think about what to do next." Lucas hesitated, then slowly stepped toward her, still clutching his backpack. Emma guided him to a small chair near her desk, offering a stuffed rabbit she kept on hand for nervous children. Lucas accepted it quietly, holding it tightly to his chest. "Good job," Emma said softly. "You're being very brave. Sometimes, when we feel scared, it helps to take a few deep breaths. Can we try that together?" Lucas nodded, mimicking her gentle inhale and exhale. Emma counted slowly, modeling patience and calm. She could feel his tension begin to ease, just slightly, as he concentrated on breathing, rather than the fear that had overwhelmed him moments ago. Once he seemed a little more settled, Emma decided to act. "Lucas, do you know your mom's phone number, or her name?" Lucas shook his head. "She told me to stay in school, but I got lost." Emma gave him a reassuring smile. "It's okay. It happens. Sometimes even grown-ups get lost in big places. Let's ask the office to help us, and then we'll find her together. You're not alone." Emma stood and gently guided Lucas to the school office, chatting quietly the whole way. She asked him about his favorite colors, the cartoons he liked, and the small victories of his morning. Slowly, Lucas's nervousness melted away, replaced by cautious curiosity and a small spark of trust. By the time they reached the office, he was holding Emma's hand without realizing it, the kind of connection only a kind, patient adult could forge in minutes. Meanwhile, Lucas's uncle, Nathaniel Sinclair, a man whose name carried weight in the financial world, had been frantically searching. A billionaire investor and philanthropist, Nathaniel's life was defined by business empires, high-stakes deals, and the meticulous organization of wealth. Despite his influence and resources, Lucas's disappearance had thrown him into a panic the likes of which no financial crisis could replicate. Nathaniel had spent the morning calling his sister and scouring nearby streets. His driver had checked every route, and security personnel were ready to mobilize. And yet, the most important thing was ensuring Lucas was safe. Despite his wealth, despite his connections, Nathaniel had realized, coldly but clearly, that money could not instantly solve the problem of a lost child. Back in the school office, Emma sat with Lucas on a small chair, carefully filling out forms for the office staff. Lucas leaned against her slightly, his small frame relaxed now that he felt someone was looking out for him. A secretary peeked in. "Miss Callahan," Lucas's mother called. "She's on her way. Should we?" Emma shook her head gently. "No, wait. Let him finish settling for a moment. We'll make sure he's calm and ready to meet her." Lucas listened intently as Emma told him a small story about a bunny who had gotten lost but always found its way home. His eyes sparkled faintly with the beginnings of a smile, the tension in his shoulders easing further. Finally, the office door opened, and a tall man with a sharp suit, impeccable posture, and an unmistakable air of authority strode in. Nathaniel Sinclair froze for a moment, then his eyes widened when he saw Lucas sitting calmly, smiling faintly, and holding Emma's hand. "Lucas!" Nathaniel called, his voice a mixture of relief and restrained panic. Lucas turned, recognizing his uncle immediately. He leaped into Nathaniel's arms, clinging tightly. Nathaniel hugged him, feeling the immense weight of relief wash over him. "Sir," Emma said quietly, rising, "he was very brave. He just needed a little help settling down." Nathaniel turned, his sharp gaze meeting hers, taking in the calm, patient presence that had soothed his nephew. I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice low, tinged with awe. "I've spent millions on security, hired the best people, and yet here you were, simply caring for him like it was nothing." Emma shook her head, a gentle smile on her face. "It was nothing special, just kindness. He needed someone to listen and help him feel safe." Nathaniel studied her, realizing that in this moment, no wealth, no influence, no title mattered. This teacher, this ordinary, kind woman, had done what his resources could not. She had calmed a frightened child, given him security and trust, and restored a sense of normalcy. Lucas clung to Nathaniel for a few more moments before glancing at Emma. "Thank you," he whispered shyly. Emma bent slightly, ruffling his hair gently. "Any time, Lucas. Remember, it's always okay to ask for help when you need it." Nathaniel exhaled slowly, still processing the scene. "Emma Callahan, you have no idea what this means to me," he said softly. "Not just as my nephew's uncle, but as someone who's realized that some things in life can't be bought." Emma smiled faintly, brushing off the praise. "I'm just a teacher. It's my job to care for kids." Nathaniel nodded slowly, realizing that sometimes the most valuable people in the world aren't the ones with the power to influence markets, but the ones with the power to touch hearts. As Lucas happily skipped alongside his uncle, Emma returned to her classroom, her heart light. She had done what she always did, helped a child feel safe. She had no idea of the wealth or influence of the man she had just met, and it didn't matter. What mattered was that a little boy had felt calm, reassured, and cared for. But Nathaniel couldn't stop thinking about her. Someone like Emma, kind, patient, grounded, was rare in a world of ambition and high stakes, and he knew almost instinctively that he wanted to know her better, not for business, not for appearances, but because she had done something priceless. She had made a difference when it truly mattered. The next morning, Nathaniel Sinclair couldn't stop thinking about Emma Callahan. He had returned home with Lucas, who was happily recounting his adventure at school to anyone who would listen. But Nathaniel's mind kept drifting back to the teacher who had calmed his nephew so effortlessly. He had been in a world of numbers, deals, and influence for decades. People admired him, feared him, or sought favors from him, but Emma had acted as if none of that mattered. She had looked at Lucas not as the nephew of a billionaire, but as a frightened little boy who needed comfort. And that, Nathaniel realized, was extraordinary. Determined to find a way to thank her properly, Nathaniel called the school office, asking to speak with her. The secretary on the line blinked in surprise, clearly aware that Nathaniel Sinclair rarely made personal calls like this.
"Mr. Sinclair, she's in her classroom. May I connect you?"
"Yes, please," he replied, trying to keep his voice calm. "It's urgent." The lie! Nay went silent for a moment before a gentle voice spoke. "Hello, this is Emma Callahan." "Miss Callahan," Nathaniel began, trying to sound composed. "This is Nathaniel Sinclair. I just wanted to thank you, personally, for helping Lucas yesterday. You don't know what it meant to me." Emma's curiosity was piqued, though she didn't know who he was. I I'm glad he's okay, she said warmly. He's a brave little boy. Nathaniel smiled, though the tension in his shoulders didn't fade completely. You were amazing with him. I'd love to meet you properly, if you'd allow it. Perhaps a coffee sometime? Emma hesitated. She had taught countless children and often received thanks from parents, but this felt different, more serious. Well, I suppose a coffee would be fine, she said finally. But just as friends, okay? I don't want any complications. Of course, Nathaniel replied, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Just to say thank you. That's all. Later that week, Emma met Nathaniel at a quiet cafe tucked away from the city's bustle. She arrived early, notebook in hand, expecting a simple conversation, maybe a thank you and nothing more. But when she saw him waiting, tall, composed, impeccably dressed, she was struck by the commanding presence he exuded. There was a quiet authority in him, but also a calmness that made her feel unexpectedly comfortable. Miss Callahan, he greeted warmly, standing as she approached. Thank you for meeting me. Emma smiled politely. Mr. Sinclair, thank you for asking me. I suppose you wanted to make sure Lucas was really okay. That, and to thank you properly, he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. I couldn't stop thinking about how you helped him yesterday. You have a gift. Emma shrugged modestly. I just do my job. Sometimes kids just need someone to notice them and help them feel safe. Nathaniel nodded, impressed by her humility. It's rare, he said quietly, and rare things deserve recognition. They talked for over an hour. Emma shared stories from her classroom, about shy children overcoming fear, about lessons that went wrong, and small victories that mattered more than anyone realized. Nathaniel listened intently, asking thoughtful questions, genuinely interested, not in numbers, not in status, but in her perspective. At one point, Emma laughed softly at a story about a boy who insisted on wearing a superhero cape to school every day. Nathaniel noticed the warmth in her eyes, the effortless way she engaged with the world. It was a side of life he rarely experienced amidst board meetings, investor calls, and high-stakes negotiations. You really make a difference, Nathaniel said finally, his tone sincere. Not just with Lucas, but with every child you meet. You don't realize how impactful that is. Emma looked down, slightly embarrassed. I try. Some days, it feels like it's never enough. But seeing them smile, or help them feel safe, that's enough for me. Nathaniel leaned back, considering her words. I wish more people thought that way. He paused, then added, You've reminded me that some of the most important things in life can't be measured in money, deals, or influence. It's perspective. Emma's curiosity deepened, though she had no idea of the scale of Nathaniel's wealth or influence. Perspective is everything, she agreed softly. It helps you understand what really matters. As the coffee cooled between them, Nathaniel realized he wanted to see Emma again, not because of business, not for appearances, but because he was drawn to her kindness, her intelligence, and the way she made him see the world differently over the next few weeks. Nathaniel found excuses to visit Lucas more often, always accompanied by Emma when appropriate. Lucas adored her instantly, enjoying every moment with the teacher who had calmed him in his time of fear. Emma, in turn, saw a side of Nathaniel she hadn't expected, a man gentle with children, patient with questions, and surprisingly warm beneath his composed exterior. At school events, Emma noticed how he engaged with the children, asking about their projects and listening attentively. It was subtle, but it revealed a different side of a man often portrayed as untouchable and serious. Lucas beamed with pride whenever his uncle complimented something he had done, and Emma found herself smiling along with him. One snowy afternoon, after a school play rehearsal, Nathaniel stayed behind to help clean up. Emma thanked him for his help, but he waved it off. I enjoy it, and besides, he added with a small smile, I get to see the amazing teacher who calmed a very lost little boy. Emma laughed, shaking her head. You make it sound heroic. I'm just doing my job, but that's just it, Nat. Nathaniel said softly, What you do, your kindness, your patience, it's extraordinary. You've made a lasting impact on someone very dear to me. And that matters more than anything else." Emma felt a warmth she couldn't quite explain. She had always believed in helping children, in making a difference, but hearing such words from an adult, especially someone so commanding and poised, stirred something new. She didn't know who Nathaniel really was beyond Lucas's uncle, and it didn't matter in that moment. What mattered was sincerity. As they walked out into the falling snow together, Nathaniel offered his arm. Emma accepted, grateful for the gesture and the warmth it provided. They spoke quietly about small things, about teaching, about Lucas's quirky habits. And for the first time, Emma began to realize that perhaps her simple act of kindness had created ripples far beyond what she had imagined. The snow had softened into a quiet drizzle by the next morning, the streets glistening with wet reflections of the city lights. Emma was bustling around her classroom, preparing lessons and arranging supplies for the day, when Lucas ran up to her, excitement written all over his face. "Miss Callahan!" he exclaimed, tugging at her sleeve. "Uncle Nathaniel wants to show me something." Emma smiled warmly. "All right, Lucas, let's see what it is." Nathaniel stood at the school entrance, tall and imposing as always, but there was a twinkle of playfulness in his eyes that Emma hadn't seen before. He held a small notebook in one hand and a model airplane in the other. "Good morning, Emma," he said smoothly, inclining his head politely. "I hope you don't mind if I interrupt your morning. Lucas wanted me to show you something." Emma chuckled. "I don't mind at all. What is it?" Nathaniel handed Lucas the notebook. "Lucas and I were working on some drawings last night," he explained. "We thought you might like to see them." Lucas eagerly flipped open the notebook, revealing crude sketches of buildings, airplanes, and little stick figures. His pride was palpable. Nathaniel leaned down, pointing out some details, his voice soft and encouraging. Emma knelt beside them, smiling.
"These are amazing. You two make a great team."
Nathaniel looked at her, a faint blush rising to his cheeks, not something he was accustomed to displaying. "Lucas insisted I show them to you," he said. "He says you're the reason he's learning to be brave." Emma's chest warmed at his words. "Lucas is brave," she said gently. "He just needed a little encouragement, and it looks like he's found that." Nathaniel's gaze lingered on her, admiration clear in his eyes. "You've made a bigger difference than you realize," he said quietly. "Not just for Lucas, but for me as well." Emma blinked, slightly confused. "For you?" "Yes," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I saw how you calmed him, made him feel safe, and in doing so you reminded me. There's a human side to all of this, a side I tend to forget." He gestured broadly, indicating the world around him, his office, his wealth, his influence. "Sometimes we get so caught up in our responsibilities and ambitions that we forget what truly matters. You reminded me." Emma felt a flutter in her chest. She was a teacher, used to making a difference for children, but the thought that she could touch an adult in such a profound way was both surprising and humbling. Just then, the conversation was interrupted by the school principal's voice over the intercom, announcing an unexpected visitor for Lucas. Emma's curiosity piqued, but Nathaniel merely smiled politely. After Lucas's class ended, Nathaniel asked Emma if she'd like to join them for lunch at a small cafe nearby. Emma hesitated. She was a teacher, cautious by nature, and suddenly realizing that his man, the uncle of one of her students, was far more than she had known made her wary. "I suppose lunch would be fine," she said cautiously. Over sandwiches and coffee, Nathaniel shared more about his life, carefully avoiding business specifics but offering glimpses into his world. He spoke of his travels, his passions, and his love for helping others, especially through philanthropy. Emma listened, impressed by the contrast between his commanding presence and the kindness he radiated. "You know," Nathaniel said, leaning forward slightly, "I've met many people in my life. Some have wealth, some have influence, Few have hearts like yours. I don't say that lightly." Emma laughed softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I'm just a teacher. I do my best, that's all." "But your best makes a real difference," Nathaniel countered. "And that's rare." Emma felt her cheeks warm under his gaze. For the first time, she realized that the world she knew, a world of classrooms, lesson plans, and small victories, was colliding with a world she had never imagined. Nathaniel Sinclair was not just Lucas's uncle. He was a man of immense wealth, influence, and power. And yet, in this quiet cafe, he was simply someone who admired her for who she was, not what she did or didn't have. As the weeks went by, their connection deepened. Nathaniel became a frequent presence at school events, not flaunting his wealth, but quietly engaging with the children, particularly Lucas. Emma noticed how Lucas beamed when Nathaniel praised his efforts, and she couldn't help but smile at the gentle patience he displayed, something she recognized as a reflection of his character. Their interactions began to take on a subtle intimacy. Nathaniel would linger a little longer when he helped Lucas, sharing quiet jokes or small stories that made Emma laugh. She found herself looking forward to his visits, curious about his life, and drawn to the warmth he offered, a warmth that contrasted so sharply with the formality she had initially perceived. One snowy afternoon, after a school recital, Nathaniel walked Emma to her car. The street was quiet, illuminated by softly glowing streetlights, and snowflakes swirled lazily around them. "Emma," he said softly, "I hope you don't think I'm overstepping, but I enjoy our time together. Not for appearances, not for any reason beyond simply being with you." Emma glanced at him, her heart fluttering. I enjoy it too," she admitted, unsure why her voice trembled slightly. He smiled, a mixture of relief and something tender she hadn't expected. "Then we'll take it slowly," he said. "No rush, no expectations, just us and seeing where this goes." Emma nodded, her thoughts swirling. She had never imagined that a simple act of kindness, helping a lost little boy, could lead to this, a friendship, a connection, and the possibility of something more with someone like Nathaniel Sinclair. Lucas tugged at her sleeve. "Miss Callahan, look at the snow!" he exclaimed, breaking the moment with innocent excitement. Nathaniel chuckled, watching the boy's joy, and Emma smiled, feeling a sense of warmth and possibility that had been missing in her life. And in that snowy street under the gentle fall of white flakes, Emma realized that her life had changed in ways she never could have anticipated. A lost boy, a kind gesture, and a billionaire investor had created a chain of events that led to connection, trust, and the subtle beginnings of love. Winter deepened over the city, and the contrast between Emma's quiet, structured life as a teacher and Nathaniel's fast-paced world of investments and high society became increasingly apparent. Though their bond had grown steadily, the differences in their worlds began to surface, testing their budding connection. It arted subtly. Emma found herself invited to a gala hosted by one of Nathaniel's charitable foundations. She hesitated when she received the invitation. She was a teacher, accustomed to small classrooms and modest gatherings, not extravagant events with polished elites and endless cameras. She feared feeling out of place, unsure if she would be able to navigate the unfamiliar environment. Nathaniel noticed her hesitation. "Emma," he said gently, "I don't want you to feel pressured, but it would mean a lot to me if you came. And besides," he added with a hint of a smile, "I want everyone to meet the woman who made Lucas feel safe when he was scared." Emma hesitated, then finally nodded. "All right," she said softly, "I'll come, but I'm warning you, I might stand in the corner quietly." Nathaniel laughed, a low, warm sound. "I think that's perfectly fine." The night of the gala arrived, and Emma felt a flutter of nervous anticipation as she entered the grand hall. Chandeliers sparkled overhead, guests in elegant attire mingled, and waiters moved gracefully with trays of champagne. She felt a pang of insecurity, self-conscious about her simple dress and practical shoes. Nathaniel approached her, his presence calm and reassuring. "Emma, you look wonderful," he said sincerely. "Don't let this crowd intimidate you. They're here for the cause, but I'm here for you." Emma smiled, grateful for his warmth. "Thank you, Nathaniel. I'll do my best." As the evening progressed, Emma observed the world Nathaniel inhabited. She noticed the deference with which people spoke to him, the careful attentiveness of those around him, and the subtle power dynamics that dictated interactions. It was overwhelming at first, but Nathaniel guided her gently, introducing her to colleagues and friends with ease and sincerity. Despite his efforts, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place. At one point, a wealthy investor she barely knew commented on Lucas's unusual behavior, implying that such a child might require extraordinary parenting. Emma bristled, unsure how to respond politely, and Nathaniel noticed her discomfort immediately. Taking her hand, he led her away from the crowd. "Ignore them," he said softly. "You're here because you matter, not because of what anyone else thinks. Lucas and I see who you really are." Emma felt a wave of relief at his words, grateful for his protection and understanding. In that moment, she realized that their connection had become more than just shared moments with Lucas. It was about trust, respect, and a recognition of the person she truly was. Yet, tensions continued to emerge. Emma struggled with the constant intrusion of Nathaniel's world into her life. Invitations to business dinners, philanthropic meetings, and networking events felt foreign, and she worried that she would never truly fit in. Nathaniel, for his part, tried to bridge the gap, explaining the importance of his work and the ways in which she could make a difference beyond the classroom. One evening, after a particularly challenging week, Emma confided in Nathaniel. "I don't know if I can keep up," she admitted quietly. "Your world, it's so different from mine. I'm just a teacher and I feel small sometimes." Nathaniel took her hands in his, gazing into her eyes. "Emma, listen to me. You are anything but small. Your work, your kindness, the way you make Lucas feel safe, those are things money can't buy. That's why I admire you. That's why I care about you. This world doesn't change who you are. It just gives you a chance to shine in ways you might not have imagined." Emma's eyes filled with tears, touched by his sincerity. I don't want to lose what we have because I can't fit in." Nathaniel shook his head gently. "You won't. We'll navigate. It together. I want you to be yourself, always. That's all I ask." Their bond strengthened despite the challenges. Lucas became the bridge between their worlds, his innocent joy and excitement reminding Emma and Nathaniel of what truly mattered. Weekend visits, small adventures, and quiet evenings reading together created a rhythm that balanced Nathaniel's high-powered life with Emma's calm, nurturing presence. One particularly snowy afternoon, Emma was walking Lucas home when Nathaniel arrived unexpectedly. He had brought a small sled, intending to make the most of the winter day. Lucas's eyes lit up, and Emma couldn't help but smile at the sight. "You two seem to have a lot of fun together," she said softly, brushing snow from Lucas's coat. Nathaniel smiled, a rare softness in his expression. "Life's too short not to enjoy these moments, and it's important to create memories, no matter how busy the world gets." Emma felt her heart swell. In Nathaniel's presence, she realized that she didn't have to change who she was to belong. Her kindness, her patience, and her authenticity were enough, and in return, Nathaniel offered warmth, understanding, and the unwavering support that few people could provide. As they sledded down the small hill behind the park, laughter echoing through the air, Emma understood that their bond was unshakable. Differences in social status, wealth, and lifestyle were obstacles, yes, but they were surmountable when built on trust, respect, and genuine affection. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Emma and Nathaniel stood together, snowflakes settling gently around them. Lucas ran ahead, calling out gleefully, and they watched him, a silent understanding passing between them. You know, Emma said softly, I never imagined that helping a lost little boy could lead to all of this. Nathaniel wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. Neither did I. But sometimes, the smallest acts create the greatest changes. You've changed my world, Emma, and I hope I can do the same for you. Emma rested her head lightly against his chest, feeling the warmth of his presence. You already have, she whispered. And in that quiet, snow-covered park, Emma realized that love and connection could flourish even amidst contrasts, challenges, and uncertainty. The world outside could be complicated, intimidating, and demanding, but with kindness, patience, and trust, it could also be beautiful, transformative, and full of warmth. Spring was slowly creeping into the city, melting away the last remnants of snow and filling the streets with soft sunlight and the fresh scent of blooming flowers. The city felt lighter, more alive, and Emma noticed that the same could be said for her own life over the past months. Her world had expanded in ways she had never imagined, thanks to a lost little boy, a simple act of kindness, and the gentle presence of Nathaniel Sinclair. Emma and Nathaniel's relationship had grown steadily, strengthened by trust, patience, and shared experiences. Despite the differences in their worlds, they had learned to navigate them together. Nathaniel no longer saw Emma as just the teacher, and Emma had come to understand the man behind the billionaire persona, kind, thoughtful, and unexpectedly warm. Lucas had played a pivotal role in bringing them together, his innocent joy and unwavering love bridging the gap between two very different lives. One sunny afternoon, Nathaniel invited Emma and Lucas to his countryside estate. It was a sprawling property, far removed from the bustle of the city, with gardens, woods, and a small lake where children could play. Emma felt a mix of awe and nervousness. She was entering a world so different from her own, but Nathaniel's hand in hers provided comfort and reassurance. Don't be intimidated, he said with a smile as they walked along a flower-lined path. This is just another place to make memories. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth she couldn't fully explain. I just hope I can keep up with Lucas, she said, watching him run ahead, laughing and chasing butterflies. Nathaniel laughed softly. He has a lot of energy, and it's contagious. As the afternoon unfolded, Emma found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in months. They picnicked by the lake. Nathaniel joined in Lucas's games, and Emma shared stories of her classroom adventures. It was ordinary, simple, and perfect. A stark contrast to Nathaniel's usual high-powered environment, yet somehow ideal. Later, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting golden light across the estate, Nathaniel pulled Emma aside. Emma, he said gently, I want to say something. From the first moment I saw you with Lucas, I realized that kindness and patience are more powerful than money, influence, or status. You've shown me that the simplest gestures can change lives. Emma felt her heart flutter, unsure if she was prepared for what he might say next. I love you, Nathaniel continued, his voice steady, sincere. I never imagined I'd meet someone who could make my world feel so real. I want to be part of your life, not just as Lucas's uncle, but as someone who cherishes you for who you are. Emma blinked, tears welling in her eyes. She had never expected this moment, yet deep down she had felt it coming, the connection, the trust, the quiet, steady love that had grown between them. Nathaniel, she whispered, her voice trembling, I love you too. He smiled, pulling her into a gentle embrace. The world around them seemed to pause, the beauty of the estate, the laughter of Lucas in the background, and the golden light of the setting sun reading a perfect frame for the moment. Lucas ran up then, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers he had picked earlier. For you, Miss Callahan, he exclaimed proudly. Emma laughed through her tears, accepting the flowers and kneeling to hug him. Thank you, Lucas. These are beautiful. Nathaniel watched them with a soft smile, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. His life had been defined by deals, investments, and strategy, but it was moments like this, simple, genuine, and filled with love, that reminded him of what truly mattered. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Nathaniel continued to build their lives together, balancing their worlds with patience and understanding. Nathaniel learned to slow down, appreciating the small joys of everyday life, while Emma gained confidence navigating new experiences, guided by his unwavering support. Lucas thrived in the middle of it all, happy to see the adults he loved growing closer, forming a family built on trust, kindness, and shared affection. One weekend, Nathaniel arranged a small celebration at the estate with close friends and family. There was laughter, music, and plenty of food, but the highlight of the evening was a quiet moment on the terrace overlooking the gardens. Nathaniel took Emma's hand, looking deeply into her eyes. "Emma," he said softly, "I know our worlds are different. I know there will be challenges, but I promise to face them with you. We've seen that kindness, patience, and love can overcome anything. You've changed my life, and I hope I've done the same for you." Emma smiled, squeezing his hand. "You already have. You've shown me that love doesn't need grand gestures or wealth. It just needs sincerity and trust. And I've learned that I can belong in your world without losing myself." Nathaniel leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. "Then we'll face everything together, no matter what comes our way." As they stood together, the sun dipping below the horizon, Lucas ran up one last time, calling, "Can we go see the stars now?" Nathaniel chuckled, picking him up, and Emma followed closely, her heart full. That night, under the vast sparkling sky, they lay on a blanket in the garden, watching the stars and sharing stories. In that simple, magical moment, Emma realized that her life had been transformed, not by wealth, not by power, but by kindness, patience, and a single act of compassion. The boy she had calmed, the billionaire uncle she had unwittingly touched, and the life that had grown around them reminded her of one essential truth. The greatest treasures in life aren't measured in money or influence. They are measured in love, trust, and the courage to make a difference in someone's life. And as the stars shimmered above, Emma, Nathaniel, and Lucas felt a profound sense of peace. Their worlds, so different, yet so perfectly intertwined, had created a family built not on titles or wealth, but on heart, warmth, and the enduring power of kindness.